One of the biggest problems I personally faced before finding my footing in the furry fandom was actually settling on a Fursona. I went through so many iterations of varying species, personality, palette, general design, and so on and so forth until I finally settled on something that felt like me. I actually found there wasn't really a ton of advice on this specific topic. Whilst there are definitely guides and other videos out there, I wanted to throw my hat into the ring with my own experiences as a very indecisive person myself. But I didn't want to use just my experience. I went and asked others using Twitter and Telegram how they ended up settling on their sonas as well. Hopefully this advice will also help you. I've decided to break my advice down into 4 key categories: species, design, personality, and ultimately, name. I feel like these are the major aspects to focus on when creating a furry character that you connect with personally, and where better to start with than the species of an anthropomorphic animal. Personally, I think the best place you could start when picking a Fursona is the species of the character itself. Whilst your Fursona is meant to represent you in one way or another, never feel like you have to stick to an animal whose personality and behaviours in real life reflect yours. And of course, your Fursona doesn't even have to be an animal that exists. There are truly no limits. You can even mix together whatever you want to create something completely new. If you click with the species, whether you can see yourself in their real life counterpart, if said animal even exists in the first place, or not, then you have a good starting point to leap from. Don't worry about the species you choose being seen as a basic or boring choice either, looking directly at you, any insecure canine or vulpine foes. Remember, you are creating a character for you. You're designing them for you to connect with, not to please anyone else or to cater to what they like to see in character designs of their own. I myself went for a hybrid of a raccoon, a common pigeon, and a crux, an original Fandom species. It's just a lot easier to say griffin. Why though? The answer is actually super simple. Pigeons and raccoons are my 2 favourite animals, and I really couldn't pick between my Sona being just one or the other. As for the crux aspect, I discovered the Fandom way back in 2010 when the crux species was around its peak in popularity, or at least from what I can gather it was. They always stuck out to me, and I also felt the curly ears, tail, and some of the species lore complemented other parts of the characters, which I'll get into later, so put a pin in that. Good design is crucial to any character, but it's also very subjective. This is one that I can't really give much advice on for that exact reason, but the key thing I can say is to ensure that the character's palette is pleasing to the eyes. Avoid clashing colours, and of course, don't copy anyone's pre-existing design, this should be a given. Keep in mind that if you ever plan on getting a fursuit of your character, to avoid extremely complex markings, gradients, and other patterns that may be difficult to replicate in a 3D space. What helped me personally was thinking about what design traits and palettes appealed to me, as well as my own personal interests and hobbies. I'm a big theme park enthusiast, and my favourite roller coaster is the Smiler, so a lot of my Sona's design was inspired by the ride, from the eyes being the same as the ride's logo, the big toothy smile, and the stripes representing the staff uniform, amongst others. Part of the reason I personally struggled with settling on a Fursona was my own struggles with gender identity and presentation growing up. I used to have a very hyper-femme Fursona who really didn't feel like me the more I learnt about myself. Cruxes as a species are said to be genderless, which I really resonated with as a non-binary person myself. My Fursona also has top surgery scars, as I'm planning on it myself. The only thing stopping me is the costs. Exploring your own self in ways that you may not be able to in real life for one reason or another may also help you choose on a design. As for your Sona's personality, this is another one where you can truly go wild. Do you want your character to be a one-to-one representation of yourself? Would you rather make them someone who you'd like to be as a person? Or something entirely different, for example just someone who hits all the notes for a character you find yourself drawn to? Whatever you'd like works. As stated in the species section, keep in mind you are making a character for you, not to appeal to anyone else. My Fursona is a fair bit different to myself in real life. Once again, I drew inspiration from the Smiler and its story with the Ministry of Joy, and ended up with a morally grey to outright awful villain. Whilst that's such a completely different person to me in real life, they are such a fun character to portray in art, and soon in suit. And I always find myself more invested in anti-hero or villainous characters than heroic ones. Ultimately, this is entirely up to personal preference on how you would like your character to act. Whatever you feel is the most fun for a character to represent you, whether they act like you in real life at all or not, take the basic traits and tropes of that kind of personality and run with it from there. The last aspect is quite a simple one in concept, but one I actually found a bit tricky to stick to. What is your Fursona's name? When picking a name that you'll be representing yourself with both as a character and in furry spaces both online and offline, it's really important to make sure you like the name and are alright with being referred to as it. Let's discuss one of my older Fursonas you saw earlier, Pavlova. I chose her name due to her palette making me think of a strawberry pavlova. It can be just as simple as that, a name that suits the design of the character. My current Fursona, who you've been looking at this whole video, is Gerstlauer. While this may read as just a German surname, it's actually the ride manufacturer of the Smiler and a lot of other roller coasters and flat rides. This was the name choice that felt right, given the character's main design inspiration. And of course, you could just go for a plain and simple human name. Why have I never seen a Fursona named Paul? As stated at the start of the video, I went around on Twitter and Telegram asking for some input from the fandom as to how they ended up with their primary Fursonas. I was really surprised by the amount of replies I received, and I'm really sorry if I wasn't able to include you in this video. I'll be linking the whole thread in the description so that you can go and have a look at what more people had to say. I narrowed the selection down to a handful to keep this section a little more streamlined. Here's some of the responses that I got. Helldog said, I made Sage because I wanted a character that looks cool but wasn't distinctively edgy. He's a surfer, but he's also in a band. I wanted him to look early 2000s inspired, as well as his personality is very sweet and friendly, unlike what one may expect from a dude in a band. Overclock Ampwave said, I chose Overclock because I like to break games. I found amp waves in a random video and quite liked them. Overclock's personality is similar to mine. Terra said, Terra came about as the result of role-playing sessions with a friend. I love strong but gentle, motherly personalities, and the name Terra definitely has roots in that. Her design was based on a series of drawings a friend of mine made. Sophie said, Cookie was designed before the name came about, the name of course correlating with the colour palette. Venn references a Venn diagram, in which one side is a sort of tired, angsty appearance of a lack of care, while the other side is being pretty, sweet, wholesome and caring. Cerise said, I personally really connect with house cats. Not only are they my fave animals, but personality-wise, they're just me. As for her personality, she is who I wish I had the confidence of being, and while wearing suit, I do. As for her name, it's my favourite ghost song. Rose said, I had a furry friend in high school who sketched a fox that I loved, so I'd use that sketch as a base to make Rose. Applesauce, my true Sona, popped into my head fully formed on a random Thursday and never left. Shadow Creations said, Coffee came about for a random idea I had for an adopt, a coffee-themed wolf. I fell in love with the colours and started changing stuff around and decided to make her a maned wolf. I stuck with the name Coffee as I love drinking coffee. Maybe that's why I connected with her so much. Crit said, for Ooze, solely named because of the slime green I used, I'd kind of just got a pair of paws and designed something based off of them. Then it just sort of stuck. They kind of turned into an embodiment of everything silly about me. I really hope this video helped you in one way or another. If it did, I'd love to see the design you come up with the advice given. Be sure to share it with me. I apologise for my microphone not being great. For the time being, I'm using the one built into my headset until I can get a more professional one. And if I messed up any lines, my confidence in recording really isn't there yet. Hopefully it wasn't too off-putting. If you enjoyed the video, why not leave a like, comment and join us by subscribing to see more furry content. It really helps boost me as a new creator in the algorithm. If you really enjoyed my work, consider a small donation to my Ko-fi, but don't feel remotely obliged. Thank you all very much for watching. I've been Gerstlauer Griffin, have a joyful day and smile always.